Assassin's Creed universe is being developed into a TV series with the streaming giant Netflix. You're listening to the Xbox Hub Podcast, the official podcast of the txboxhub.com. For all the latest Xbox news, reviews, videos and opinions, make sure you visit the txboxhub.com. But for now, settle down, get comfy and open your ears for some podcast delights. Hello, welcome to the Xbox Hub Official Podcast, episode 176. My name's Gareth Bradley. I'm going to be your host, and on my virtual left is Mr. James Burks. How you doing, James?
Hello there. Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Good. I feel like I haven't seen you for a while.
No, you still haven't seen me.
Oh, damn.
We're miles apart.
We are.
One day, my friend.
Spiritually and locationally. on my virtual right is Mr. Richard Dobson. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. It's almost been a year since I last saw you, and I need a fix soon.
Oh, yeah, good. There you go. And on my virtual opposite, who won't want to see me ever again, is Mr. Paul Renshaw. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Gareth, and you're absolutely right. You so.
Today we're not gonna be doing house. We're not gonna be concerned about what people are doing, how their week's been, what games they've been playing.
Yes, just because you've told us you don't care.
I do care. I do really care. But there's a lot going on. We've got a lot going on today. We're going to do a big Gamescom. Our highlights. We're going to go through the games that were announced on the opening night, and then we're going to talk about our predictions maybe for 224 on Xbox Game First, and then we're going to hear from the interview we did with a Kentucky Route Zero co-creator. Shall we start? Let's talk about Gamescom first of all. What do we think about the opening night? Was it a good one, first of all, without spoiling anything? James, did you think it was a good presentation?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I wouldn't say it was terrible, but yeah, a lot of it wasn't memorable. I mean, you're talking about highlights. I'm wondering how long this will take us talking about highlights.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced.
Okay. Paul, you're a bit more upbeat than this.
Obviously, I'm always upbeat, Gareth. You know me. Yeah, I thought it was quite good. I enjoyed it watching it. It was good to see Jeff, doing the do again as he does.
Yeah.
There were a few sort of misses, but yeah, overall, I thought it was quite a good show.
And Richard, what about you? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think he tempered expectations beforehand, saying it's going to be more updates as opposed to world premieres and stuff like that. So, but it was nice to get an update on certain games anyway. So it wasn't too bad, no.
And of course, Gamescom's going on a week, so there's lots of more updated things. Like we know today that wasn't in the showcase. Stalker 2. There's more stuff on that and a few other games. So maybe we can have a little chat about that at the end. But let's go in. I've got a list. We're going to go through like we always do. We've just got to go through a kind of like from the beginning, and maybe I'll miss a couple of things out and shout if I've missed something you're interested in out, you three.
You always miss out the games I'm interested in.
Oh, yeah, because they're normally terrible. Let's talk about...
Not enough walking about in them for you.
No, exactly. We had a nice little beginning, didn't we? A Starfield music piece, live on the piano. And then we had a live-action trailer for the Starfield. I mean, we're going to be doing a Starfield special next week, so we won't talk much about that. But were you all excited about... We're not going to talk to Richard, but were you two excited about Starfield?
Ever.
You two, did it get your hearts racing, James?
No more than it already was. I'm still excited for Starfield, but I mean, I didn't really care for the trailer. I mean, it's live action, tells me nothing. It was a waste of time. The music was nice though.
Music was very
nice. Well played.
Like a bit of live music.
To the artist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still excited. Regardless, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Paul, you same?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't overly blown away by the music. I mean, I'm sure it's all lovely and the guy is going home feeling good about himself. But yeah, it's not really what I wanted to see. I wanted to see more of the actual game. But yeah, I mean, the live action thing was nice enough. But yeah, I wanted to see more.
And I think at the Gamescom, we had it later on. They've got a cinema they built, like a 300-seat cinema, and people are seeing I think maybe the opening of the game, is that right? But they're not. There's no people. People are not having hands on, are they? You're just watching it in the festival, which had a bit of criticism.
Yeah, I understand that that's the case.
Yeah, but we'll talk about this later on. I won't say why, but we'll talk about it later on. Let's just talk about. There was a protester quite early on who came on. Paul, what are you thinking about that?
Well, I was kind of stood there going, "What are you talking? Bill Clinton wants to play GTA 6. I'm fairly sure that he doesn't.
I don't know.
Well, he might be a big fan, but yeah, you can't see it, can you? So yeah, it was a bit of an odd thing. I mean, Jeff handled it quite well, I thought. I mean, didn't haul off and punch the guy in the face, which I'd like to have seen. But yeah, apart from that would have been good, wouldn't it? A massive ruck on the stage.
It was.
I reckon Jeff can handle himself as well, you know.
I think, but he did say, Jeff, which I liked, so disappointed, which made me laugh a lot.
He's not angry; he's just disappointed.
He's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's proper head teacher vibes.
Yeah. It's a gag, isn't it? It's a gag. So is it a running gag? This thing they do.
Did that because that kid was on there for Elden Ring last year, wasn't he? And he mentioned Bill Clinton then.
Right.
So I think this other guy's come up and sort of seen that Bill Clinton's the guy to get you on stage and get at Jeff's events, basically. So he's just run on and said that.
Yeah.
Because he foolishly invites members of the public and then doesn't have any security. But
yeah, the public are idiots. We know that.
Well, yeah,
I imagine
absolutely.
that changing for the Game Awards now as well.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the first kind of. There's a reveal actually. We didn't expect this one coming. The first one is Little Nightmares 3 is coming in 2024. I'm a big Little Nightmares fan. Anyone here played them? James, I don't know if you've played them. Have you?
I like the idea of it, but it's too much for me.
It is very scary. Paul, have you played it?
I've played a bit of the first one and I didn't really get on with it. So I didn't bother with the second one. And the third one failed to excite me.
Oh. Well, Neil loves them, and I like them as well a lot.
It is
co-op this time, which is really good. A really good play. Neil, Richard, have you played Little Nightmares? I can't remember.
I haven't, but seeing that this one's being handled by Supermassive Games has got me very interested. It's on my hard drive. I just need to get around to it, but I'll hopefully do that now.
Do it. It's great. I love both those games. Very scary though. It's quite scary. Yeah, so that's in co-op. There's something about podcasts, but we won't talk about that. Don't want any rival podcast stuff on here.
There are no other Xbox podcasts, are there?
Yeah, no, there isn't. Never. Let's talk about the game we knew was going to be showcased, which is the Black Myth. What's the full title for this game?
Black Myth Wukong.
Good. Paul, you're very excited about this.
Hey, I'm very excited about this. As soon as it said, it's based on the Journey to the West, the monkey legend. Yeah, I was all over that. I think it looks fantastic. It's got a very good kind of, it's almost like that Wo Long game that was out a little while ago. It's got that kind of feel to it. Chinese mythology. It's got, it looks like you're playing as the Monkey King himself. So yeah, I'm all on board for that, and I'll put my name down for the review right now. It's clearly going to be too much for you, Gareth.
I'm definitely
so.
Yeah. I'm saying now it's not for me. I really like it. It looks beautiful. It looks great, doesn't it, James? It looks lovely. World.
It does, and I think the headless man playing the banjo was the selling point for me.
I'm fairly sure it wasn't a banjo, but we'll let that one slide.
Yeah, I don't know the technical term. Everyone knows it's a banjo.
Yeah.
Not a banjo, I think is the technical term, mate.
There's a lot of games coming, isn't there, Richard? We've got a lot of games coming soon. We kept saying this.
Yeah, it's quite a good thing that this one almost stands out a bit as well, because as Jeff kept saying, like October's chock-a-block, which means that stuff's getting pushed back into early 2024. Whenever this one releases, though, I think it's going to do fairly well. because it looks brilliant.
Is it 2024? They've said summer 2024. They said originally, so I don't know if that's changed. But they didn't mention anything for this now. But that was what they said a couple of 6 months ago. But it does look, I mean, it's interesting. It's like we're seeing all the kind of Unreal Engine 5 stuff. It's kind of like in a lot of these trailers. It's like it feels like someone said it's like the tap's turned on. I think one of the developers now. You're just going to get loads of these games coming through now after the delays. Yeah, that looks good. Killing Floor 3. I don't know what they said. I don't know anything about the Killing Floor franchise. Anyone help me with this?
I've never played any of them. What? It looked interesting in a Doom kind of way. I thought it was a new Doom game when I was watching the trailer. But yeah, I couldn't tell you anything about the franchise. I mean, obviously, you're the shooter guy, Gareth. I thought you'd know all about it.
I do. I am. I don't know anything about this. None of it interested me at all. But it's people are very happy about this, apparently.
It's got 3 games in the series.
Yeah.
The only one that gave you 3 games is good. Like another game that we'll talk about later. It's its 3rd iteration.
Yeah. Good. Killing Floor 3, we don't know when that's coming out. I don't think there's a date was there for that one. No, there's not. That's definitely not now. Now we've all sat there in silence. But a game we did know that was coming out straight away was a game that we talked about, I think, last week, wasn't it? Is Age of Empires 4. We said last week on the podcast, what's happened to that? And would you believe it? The Age of Empires 4 is out now on Game Pass as a big reveal. The Xbox Series XS version. Have you all downloaded it? Richard, have you downloaded it?
No. I'm happy that it's here, but to be honest, Age of Empires 2 is the one for me. So the fact that I would probably still play that over any other Age of Empires. So it's good that it's on there, but I'm not as interested in this one as I was when 2 came out at the start of this year.
Oh. Well, Paul hates this series. What about you?
I'm not. I just don't get excited. I love strategy games, usually. I just don't get excited by Age of Empires. I mean, maybe it's just listening to Dobbo and Darren rattle on about Age of Empires 2. It's just put me off the entire series. But, on Game Pass, it's got to be worth a try, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And James, I can finally watch my catapult videos that I've been going about.
Great.
Then we had a big fan, big James. James loves this man. Zack Snyder. He was here. He turned up for a trailer for his new film on Netflix.
Oh, you mean the cringiest part of the whole show?
I don't know about that, but yeah, it's one of the ones.
No.
It was, yeah. I've got to agree with him. It was pretty cringy. I just sat there watching him, thinking, "What? Why are you here?"
He came out to mild applause, and then credited the crowd to deadly silence. It was so awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you guys moved. That's the thing, though. It's like you guys are insane, and they're all sat there looking at him like, "What?"
Yeah, I know.
He just felt a little bit awkward though himself, I think, because I watched him being interviewed by IGN yesterday, the day after opening night live, and he was there with his wife talking about Rebel Moon and how it was originally a Star Wars story. And even then, when there wasn't a crowd there, he just looked very awkward, which is not the Zack Snyder that I had in my head at all.
Mm. He's gone through a terrible tragedy as well in their family and stuff. Yeah, so it's but the Rebel Moon looked good. I mean, the thing about Rebel Moon, the connection is there was going to be some games connected to it. They're working on that's in that universe.
It was decent. It was a terrible film. Don't cancel it.
There you go. I was going to you, James, as a Zack Snyder fan. You love the Zack Snyder world.
I love his work on Justice League.
Right.
But other than that, I think he needs to just, take it easy. Because he's getting in for a shock. I don't think it'll be because he thinks it'll be.
Right.
It's new Rebel Moon.
Oh.
It's going to flap.
What?
Read it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, James, for that. Prediction of Paul Robles ruined Zack Snyder's Christmas. Oh, Unbelievable. But one thing I think we can all agree on this, and if we don't, you can just leave now. Crimson Desert.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my word!
Mm.
Oh my word! Where did that come from? I didn't. I think maybe saw a little bit about this game before, but not in much detail. It just looked amazing. Richard, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, I was similar. It was like, I'm sure I've come across this before, but it's like a single player open world RPG in the same universe as Black Desert Online, which I think is where I've come across it before. But yeah, this just looked brilliant. I think the trailer was a bit lengthy, but yeah, I was happy to see everything getting chopped up.
I mean,
repeatedly.
It's a weird mixture of like The Witcher. Or there's some like open world fishing stuff, but also a bit Assassin's Creed. It reminded me of. Paul, did you think that?
Well, do you know what? As soon as I saw the fishing minigame, that was it. I was sold. So, yeah, no further questions, Your Honour.
I think even James, you're going to have a go at this, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. Especially given that it's by Korean developers.
Yeah.
I was sold. I was even sold with the whole trying to settle down on the horse and tame it when it was trying to throw you off.
Yeah.
But even the environmental stuff, like blowing up the watchtowers and just knocking people back into other people, it just looks so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've run into that one.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because we talked about this a while ago when we were talking about the consoles coming out this generation, about these big, huge games. This looks like another one, a big kind of like lengthy, epic kind of like RPG. Yeah, that's great. Really good. Really, really. We didn't get any date on this, did we? At all?
No.
Nothing.
There's no release date yet.
No. Now, I've got a note here by this next game, which is, I put, even this looks good. And it's Payday 3.
No.
You made a mistake.
You must have done. Did you put it against the wrong game?
I think I was so amazed by Crimson Desert. And it kind of feeded in the next game. No, you two, you're not convinced. Convince me why it doesn't look good, James.
It just looked like another game I played recently called Crime City. It looked like a
I remember that game.
It the exact mission that we played in Crime City inside a warehouse. The same layout, everything. I'm thinking, why? We don't need any more of these games. Enough is enough now.
Right.
Stop messing about, people. Make new games.
There we go. That's from James. It's harsh tonight, isn't it? Paul's not excited about this, nor is Richard.
Well, it was Ice-T. I mean, back in the day, Ice-T used to be quite cool. Now he's just all old and, he shouldn't pretend to be a gangster anymore because, he's more likely to be getting his pension, I'd have thought. But, yeah, I wasn't impressed.
Interestingly enough, body count featuring crime boss Rocket City as well.
Ah.
So it's almost
in
like
the
he knows. It's almost like he knows his niche market.
Wow. We're going to get to see this game September the 21st. I think it's on Game Pass, so we did say we're going to play it.
Aren't we?
We're playing it, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I did a deal.
Did I sign up for that deal, or was that a week I wasn't on?
Hoping.
That was when the Elite team was on.
Oh, right, cool, yeah.
You're
guys on the lower league, yeah.
You're reviewing it, Paul.
Oh,
4.5 incoming.
Shoot 'em up, Gareth. It's you. I'll tell you what, though. You better never, ever, ever give another game 4.5 ever in your life. Otherwise, there will be ructions.
People who haven't listened to the podcast before, Paul's very famous for giving 4.5 out of 5.
I am not famous.
Yes.
I've given 4.5 to some games. I've also given 0.5 to some games, but I'm not famous for that, apparently.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Assassin's Creed Mirage, we know it's coming a week earlier. That had a really beautiful trailer for it. We'll get to see more of that. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not 100% convinced by it, and I'm the biggest Assassin's Creed person, but I want to be...
It seems unnecessary.
Yeah. We talked about it before. Does it feel like a bit held? I want to be surprised by it. Hopefully it will surprise me. But it's coming a week earlier, October the 8th, I think. God, it's busy. Well, who wants to talk about Tekken 8? Because I've got... it's not me. Go on, Paul. Talk about it.
Tekken 8 is going to be awesome. I played the closed sort of beta that they did not so long ago, and really enjoyed it. The fighting action it's like an evolution of 7, but it's a lot more. It's a beautiful looking game. The animation and the damage that the characters take, everything else about it. It's just going to be a very, very good fighting game, topped only by another one that we'll talk about in a little while. I think. I think it's going to be an interesting tussle between the two. But the Tekken's not out till next year, is it?
Yeah, January
2024. So, it's going to be great. The bit I've played, even this far out, was very impressive. So, I think that'll be the one to turn you into a fighting game fan, Gareth.
I've done it. I've played it. I got to quarterfinals.
I know you got the panda.
Journalist. Would you believe?
Choose the panda and press some buttons. See what happens.
Yeah.
I think that was your tactic.
It worked well. Someone talking about Arcade Quest? What is that? What's all that about? I didn't understand any of that.
It looked like.
Go on. Sorry, Douglas.
Sorry, Paul. It just looked like a little bit like Tekken's version of what Street Fighter 6 have done recently, with their very good. I can't remember what it's called in that, but like their city, and then you can go around fighting people. But for some reason, Tekken 8 have done it with like a chibi style.
Mm. Yeah, it looks fine.
It looks fine. It's another single player mode, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's supposed to. I think what they were saying was it was supposed to replicate how we used to go and play games in the arcade back in my day. And we used to put 50p on the edge of the machine and wait for our turn. So
did they have arcades in your day?
They did, mate, but they were all black and white.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Would you believe there's another Call of Duty game coming, Modern Warfare 3? I'm not going to talk much about this, but it's open world zombies. What do you think open world zombies is? I don't understand that. James, you have any idea?
So zombies are mode in.
Yeah.
Well, basically the other side of the card.
Yeah.
Basically, it's not zombies, but it's open world.
Lovely. Thank you, James.
It's a good job you're here, James, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I'm actually really excited for this one.
Are you?
Yeah. When you talked about having you still got your cinematic missions, and you've got more. What was it called?
Open combat missions.
Open combat missions, yeah. So you can take it easy. You can do stealth, or just go in guns blazing. I like the idea that there's a bit more freedom having just following a linear story all the way. I actually want to play this one. And I haven't wanted to play Call of Duty for years.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited.
Okay. Now, I like my first play. I like my Call of Duty sort of a campaign, but I like being on sort of like on track in a sense. But yeah, I think it is. They've got to do something different. They're doing it. I put in comments here, and I think it's the best rain effects I've ever seen. That was amazing because it was just the way it was blowing. It was like
dripping off the ceiling.
Yeah, it's amazing. Nightingale, which is this. I'm still really intrigued by this game, which is like a survival co-op game. I don't know what it is. It's in different portals. Do you know about this, Rich?
I remember when it first got announced to me, and you really liked the look of it. So it had that almost Victorian-esque look about it. But then this latest trailer really put me off because all they showed was like a survival elements, and then building these elaborate houses, and it almost reminded me of the game that me and you played, and I cannot remember the name of it at all. But that was like an MMO RPG, and it was just people had built houses everywhere, and it was really quite boring.
Yeah.
This is reminding me of it now, and I'm suddenly like aesthetically and the style that they've gone for looks brilliant, but a survival game doesn't really interest me so much.
Hopefully they might do something different with it. Paul, James, you like the look of this?
I thought it looked like a Gareth game, so no, I'm out.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I thought it looked like a magical version of Ark. Like Ark.
Yeah, but no dinosaurs.
No, but even then, even with dinosaurs, I won't be interested. It's too much hassle. You got to do all this crafting, and then somebody will come and kill you, and you'll lose it all, and you get annoyed, and then you just delete the game.
I'll tell you what, James, never play Rust.
I'll write it down. Hang on. I'll be saying that.
Rust.
It's coming to early access in February 2024, so we'll find out a bit more then. But I think it was meant to come out this year. The early access was, so people were a bit disappointed. What happened to Ark 2? That was meant to be out this year, wasn't it? God. Anyway,
in development hell somewhere.
Yeah. My next note is, how many Sonic games? What is this one, Richard? What's this one? Do I know anything about this? So there's two things here. There's a Sonic co-op game. Talk about
that. Sonic Superstars is like a 4-player co-op Sonic game, but an old style one. I think that'd be pretty good. It might be the one that I sit down with Laura and be like, "Oh, look, it's co-op Sonic," and she'll be like, "Oh, let's give it a try." And then 5 minutes later, she's died and lost all her lives and vows to never play it again.
We're going to spend 5 minutes later, we're divorced.
But yeah, I think that one looks pretty good. Like any Sonic game that reverts back to the original 2D style is always going to be better received than the 3D ones.
Mm. And you've got some DLC for the new one, haven't you? What's it called? Sonic
Frontier. Well, yeah. Despite what I've just said, I didn't actually mind this one too much. I thought it was an interesting evolution for a 3D Sonic game. So this looks like it's going to follow on from the end of the main story for that. So see what happens there. But yeah, that one was a pretty good 3D Sonic game.
Okay. Good. More Sonic. God, there's been millions of them. The first Descendant I've got written down here as a highlight thing. I can't remember anything about this game. Can anyone else remember anything about it?
No.
No, I don't know why.
It looked all right.
Looked good, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
A little shooter game. It's now lost. I can't remember. Yeah. It did look good. It looked good. Yeah. Someone wants to tell us about First Descendant, please get in contact.
Send us a postcard.
Yeah. Fort Solis, which is now out on PlayStation now. And we saw fellow man, what's his name?
Troy Baker.
Troy Baker's done that. He's an old pro. He turned to the crowd and went, "You guys are wild," and they're not wild. They weren't wild. He's just trying to do his thing to get the audience going because they're a bit thing. I thought he's an old pro of just trying to do. He's done so many of these things. This looks good. Game. I don't think it's getting very good reviews because it's just out. But on paper, the trailer, it looked really. I thought this is one for me. But we'll wait and see. I couldn't remember this was coming out. I was quite shocked when they said it was out now. Anyone else? Richard, you like the look of this?
I like the look of it, but similar. So I was like, "Oh, what? It's out." Not really heard much about it. Yeah. Unless we have, and it's just been lost in the mix with everything else. Yeah. I don't know.
I think some of these games could have come out in the summer. We've had this kind of gap, and they're just going to get lost now. This is the problem. It's such a busy time at the moment. It's like, yeah. Paul, do you like the look of this?
Yeah, it looked all right. I mean, it's nothing. It's not on the radar, basically. No. I don't know anything about it, but yeah, it looked nice enough. So it'll be a wait and see one, I think.
Yeah. Anyone played any of these kind of like snow? What are they called? Snow builder.
Snow runner.
Yeah, those ones. There's a new game, Expeditions. In that thing when you're trying to basically get a big vehicle over some terrain for 4 hours.
I really like the look of this.
Good, Richard. Go on, tell us about it.
Having not played any of the others, I've always sort of been intrigued by them, but this one looked very good. And then the fact that you had this drone, and you could explore these surroundings and maybe use that to check the terrain up ahead or whatever. Yeah, I'm quietly looking forward to this one. I think it could be. I love a driving game, but I think this one offers something a little bit different, and I'm intrigued to see a little bit more about it.
Have you played any of these, Paul?
I haven't. So yeah, I mean, I'm the same as Richard. I love a driving game, and then as we speak, I'm sort of planning in my head what I'm going to do for my Forza article tonight. So, but other than that, yeah, I mean, it looks. It's not like a Forza Horizon. It's more sort of. It looks more relaxed than that. It's just, you drive and you try and get to where you're going. It's not about speed. It's about doing what you do, doing the precision sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
From what I've seen from the other ones, you have to look after your traction and make sure you don't get stuck in the mud and everything else. So yeah, it looks like it might be quite interesting.
James, a fun night out for you playing Expeditions?
I've got this. It looks like a bit of a chore.
That's like a picture. You know what
I more fun doing it myself. Like just getting a truck, learn how to drive, and just driving around countryside.
You know what I thought?
Enjoy that more.
I thought just get out and walk. You're going to go a lot faster then.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jesus.
And
it'll reduce your carbon footprint.
It would do. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, go green, guys.
I'm not going to.
Get paid developers.
I'm not going to talk about the Crew Motorfest
because it looks dreadful.
Why have they just copied Forza Horizon? Why have they just thought,
yeah,
do that?
They might as well have called it Forza Horizon 5.5.
Yeah.
Or 4.5, really. But
no, it's got nothing.
There's just nothing invites you in with that game, I don't think.
No, it doesn't. And they don't seem that convinced by it as well. Do you know what I mean? They don't seem that. They're not selling it. Yeah.
That's why they're giving out a five-hour free trial to try and convince people.
Yeah, you won't need that long.
It's an interesting trick, though, isn't it? Because surely you'll download the trial, go, yeah, this is crap, and delete it and not buy the game.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Richard can review that one. He loves the driving game.
He does. Cyberpunk, Richard, DLC. I know these two haven't played the bloody first game. Yeah.
No.
Is Phantom Liberty, are you excited about going back to that world?
Yes, very. I haven't touched it since this got announced, actually, because reading about it and where I am in terms of the game and where this is going to be set in the story and the world and everything, I'm in the perfect position. So I'm leaving it now until this comes out, along with the 2.0 update where they're revamping a lot of things, which some of it you're looking and you're like, why wasn't this ever included? Like the vehicle combat felt like a big omission. So to have it finally in there is going to be exciting. Yeah, just looking forward to jumping back into that world.
Yeah, I am as well, because I've not played it, because I reviewed us on the Xbox One version. But I've not played it with all the upgrades. Yeah, so I've not played the Series X yet, so I'm looking forward to loading it up again. But we'll see. Time, there's loads of stuff. It's too much, isn't it? I'm just going to mention one thing. Ben Brode, a hero of mine. He was back, wasn't he?
Oh God. Yes, he was definitely back.
What I loved about Ben Brode was basically the guy behind Marvel Snap. He was one of the things. So he was talking about all it was. They brought him over there to talk about Marvel Snap going onto Steam. But what I loved about Ben Brode, Jeff looked quite scared, or there was a little bit of it in his head. He was looking, going, "Why have we got this guy back?" Did you feel?
Did we not learn our lesson last year?
Yeah.
Did you think it was another stage invasion?
Did he look really? Looking back at it, he looks really worried, especially when Ben Brode sort of doing his very high energy. Yeah.
I'll have a pint of what he's had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll have a bag of what he's had.
Maybe just a line.
Yeah. There's no assumptions to poor Ben Brode. He's just full of life. Mortal Kombat 1. We had a little bit more of a look at it. There was a kind of like a little bit a trailer about the world and how that works. It's a beautiful looking game, isn't it? Who wants to start with this? Richard, have you been doing some beta stuff with it?
I played the pre-order beta over the weekend for it, actually, yeah. And funnily enough, how there was all the discourse about Starfield's title screen. The the title screen for Mortal Kombat 1 is absolutely stunning. I just needed to say that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Similar to Tekken 8, the fighting games and how they look at them at the moment is just fantastic. Sadly, the pre-order beta didn't do much over the technical one that Ali played a few months ago. There was only 2 extra characters, but other than that, it was identical. But yeah, the fatalities are as mental as you would expect. And yeah, I like a Mortal Kombat game. I don't know what goes on with the story, and even with this one being another soft reboot, even though they only had one a couple of games ago, I'm still very confused. But I don't really play a fighting game for the story.
No. James, you love a bit of Mortal Kombat, do you?
I do, and I think the environments look stunning in this one. And they put a lot of effort into the different maps and even the interactive parts that you saw in the trailer. It's like, I'm looking forward to trying them all out. You know, not just the characters, you know, the actual locations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I love Mortal Kombat.
Not for you, is it, Paul?
Oh, it absolutely is right up my alley. Obviously, this is the game I was alluding to when I was talking about Tekken. And I was quite jelly that Richard got the to play the beta and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, seeing all the characters come back. I think I reviewed the last one. I think I reviewed, is it 12 or 11 or something?
11.
I get lost where the story's gone. But the last one I reviewed, the story in that, if you think this one's silly, then it was all time travel and Liu Kang was dead and then he wasn't dead. And yeah, so... But yeah, seeing everybody coming back and all looking groovy, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to trying these team-up moves as well. They look pretty exciting. So, yeah, especially if the fatalities are as good as Richard says. It'll be one to play when the boy's in bed, obviously.
Yes, definitely.
Good. Mortal Kombat 1 coming in September as well. Wow. I'm just going to mention a couple more things very quickly. Aura History Untold has come to Game Pass in 2024. I want to mention it because it looked like a kind of strategy game like Humankind, which has just hit Xbox Game Pass, and Age of Empires. But there's something about this I like the look of. Don't know why it appealed to me. I like the look of the way they did the map.
That's the bit I always look for in a game. If the map's no good, forget it. I don't play it.
It reminded me of the Anno games, and I did the one 1800 that came out on consoles earlier this year. But yeah, that and a little bit of SimCity, but then it's all turn-based, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that one's only going to be PC though, isn't it?
Okay, fine, good.
Until it gets a console release a few years afterwards.
Yeah. The other game was Thank Goodness You're Here. That gets a little mention for little indie set in the north of England, and has played a song Lily the Pink, which I haven't heard for a long time.
That did raise a smile for me, to be fair, while I was sat there listening to it. I was actually singing along, going, drink Lily the Pink.
And James, I thought you should play this. This is all you.
I mean, I was definitely perked up when I saw the trailer. It was very silly, very slapstick, and very British.
Yeah, very British, which is good. Yeah.
I mean, I think I read somewhere that some of the puzzles include cutting the grass and baking a pie. I'm thinking, now this is my world.
That's I think that's coming out next year. Thank goodness you're here. And the last one of the opening night was Alan Wake 2, which we have seen a bit. So we saw a mixture of live action and the game as well in that, which saw Alan Wake, I think, for the first time we've seen him in a trailer. Is that right? And yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about this game. I think Darren is as well, as on the podcast. It's going to come out. Been delayed a bit while to get cleared into October, the late October. I don't think Paul likes it. James didn't like it. Richard, are you an Alan Wake fan?
I've never played it.
There you go.
But it does look brilliant.
It does look very good. I'm really excited.
It looks bonkers, is what it looks.
Yeah.
You know, just watching that bit that we saw, it was just like, what on earth is going on here? So, it was a bit peculiar.
It's like he was in the Red Room.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Control. It has got that connection in that world. That's good. Brilliant. There you go. That's the opening night. But now...
Hang on. You missed something.
Tell me.
You know, one of the games that I've put down on my list of things I'm looking forward to, and you've skipped straight over it. Last Epoch.
Oh, my word. What was that one?
You know, that was the one that a bunch of Diablo ARPG fans have put together, bringing like the best of all the things together.
Yeah.
And it looked really, really good. And you've just gone, la, 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 I don't care about that.
Yeah, I switched off.
I thought you meant Lords of the Fallen.
Well, there's Lords of the Fallen as well. How has he missed that one?
Well, because it was only a story trailer for Lords of the Fallen. We've seen some gameplay stuff that's more interesting. There's nothing new from this one we saw. So, yeah.
Was there any kind of audition process for the MC role of this podcast?
Yes.
I'm about the Hoyoverse.
I've got
the Hoyoverse game.
I've got my names James, Richard, in question marks. I thought we're not even going to do it.
It's definitely James.
No.
Yeah. Tell us about this game, the Epoch game. I didn't even put on my list.
I've just given you the synopsis, basically. So, there you go. We can move on, Your Honour.
We'll look forward to that. Anything else from you two?
Such a liar.
Can I add to that?
Sorry, James?
Can I add something to that one?
Yeah.
Yes, mate.
I think the idea sounds fantastic. I thought it looked really, really boring, the gameplay.
Are you a fan of Diablo, though?
Yes, I am. But it looked so boring. I think it was so bland, the gameplay. The visuals. Nothing sparked my mind. I don't know, it looks like every other dungeon crawler. Excellent.
Okay. Glad we brought up this game.
That just rained on my chips.
That was in my highlights.
Good. That's it, gentlemen. Thank you very much for the opening night. But I got the chance last week to talk about a game that's out at the moment, and I got to get to talk to Jake, one of the co-creators of Kentucky Route Zero, and here it is. Hi, I'm here with Jake Elliott. Jake, how you doing?
Doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. Can you introduce yourself, Jake, and who you are?
Yeah, sure. I'm a game designer. I guess now I mean my background is in making art, software art, I would say. But I've been making games since 2008, 2009, something like that. And I work with a small studio called Cardboard Computer, which is right now it's 3 people. It's always been 3 people, and we met in art school in Chicago, and now we make this sort of story-driven adventure games.
And we're here to talk about Kentucky Route Zero, of course. Mm-hmm. This is always the hardest question, but I wonder if you could do it. Have you got a good elevator pitch for this game, or the way how you describe it?
Yeah, it's I don't know if it would fit in an elevator, but it's we call it a magical realist adventure game. So we're kind of drawing some inspiration from the magical realist fiction, the genre of fiction that's sort of about real world situations and people, but using kind of elements of the folklore or the fantastical to kind of like shed some light on the psychological reality or the spiritual reality of life. So that's the idea of magical realism. But anyway, what else can I tell you about the game? It's a story that's set here in Kentucky, where I live in the United States, and it's set in and around Mammoth Cave, which is this huge cave system that we have here. It's as far as I know, it's like the largest cave system in the world, and it's here in Kentucky, and about 45 minutes from where I live. And in the game, there's people who live there in that cave. There's sort of there's a highway that runs underground through the cave, and there's a river that you can travel along, and you mostly travel this highway and this river and meet people and talk to them. Most of the game is about having conversations with people or exploring these sort of environments. That's my pretty rough elevator pitch.
It's very good. Now, I've played the game. So I played the game last year, and I loved the game. I love it, and I think it's so unlike anything else. And I always think this with any kind of like work that's unlike anything else. It's groundbreaking from completely different. Is it always tricky to try to describe that to like a new gamer?
Is it always tricky?
Is it always tricky to describe? Yeah, when you have to describe. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It is, but it's also, as a game, it's sort of like it's sort of got one foot in the history of video games. Kind of rooted in the history of video games. So there's a lot of stuff in Kentucky Road Zero that is kind of reflecting on point and click adventure games and what those feel like to play. So that part of it would feel pretty familiar. And then also there's the Mammoth Cave is the setting for what is possibly the first adventure game from 1976, which was a game called Colossal Cave Adventure. It was a text adventure game, and so it's and this game has a lot of sort of a lot of reflection on that earlier game in it, and so it's kind of like it's an unusual in some ways for a video game, but it's also like really rooted in game history, like I said. So might be kind of familiar but strange. That's sort of the vibe that we're going for with it.
That should be my Tinder profile. If I was thinking about it started with a Kickstarter campaign, which is a kind of really interesting because is it fair to say you were kind of near the sort of early beginnings of Kickstarter? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Before the Double Fine one that was the first one that I remember being like a really big video game, was the Double Fine Adventure, which ended up being Broken Age. It was early for Kickstarter, and we set our target fairly low compared to modern Kickstarter stuff. It was only a few $1,000s was our target, and we just wanted to raise money in order to pay for the license for our game engine and to pay for this band to record the soundtrack for us. But the response was really good to the Kickstarter, and kind of kept us going for the a little while to develop the first sort of iteration of the game, the first prototype. And the Kickstarter was like really useful for us too to kind of focus our idea, because we had to make this trailer, and so we kind of like, it helped us kind of focus our thinking about what the game would look and feel like before actually build. It was kind of like a prototype, but it was just sort of trailer, like a tone prototype or something like that.
Wow. It's an amazing kind of, it's that amazing journey of just thinking about you, because it's a long process, isn't it?
That was 2010, I think 2011. Wow. Maybe.
And you released the games in episodes, first of all, on PC and Apple. Is that right? I think.
Yeah. We did one. They sort of took us a year or two each to finish these episodes. We did 5 of them, and then with the 5th episode, we also released the first console versions of the game. That was in 2020, and that was for the Xbox One, I guess, and the other consoles. And now we've got this new version, which is available on the new Xbox Series SX.
Was it on the episodic front? Was it a nice thing to do? Did you have the sort of plan of all 5 acts in your head, or did you have the first act or the second act, and then you had time to kind of think, oh, it could go here?
Yeah. It kind of in between those two polls. So we had a sketch, like an outline of what the story was going to be from start to finish, and so we had a specific ending in mind, which is more or less the ending that you see in the game, and that was really useful for us to be able to think about, like, kind of foreshadowing things and just have a sense of where we were going. And knowing that we were going to introduce particular characters later on, we could kind of tease them earlier on. But we didn't want to basically just we didn't want to adhere too closely to the plan that we had made in the beginning, and just be sort of like that approach might have been like we designed the whole game and then we were just doing homework for 10 years. We might have been kind of difficult to get through. So it was important to keep things kind of open-ended as far as and like you said, to be able to sit and think between episodes and think, oh, maybe we'll take this in a different direction, having seen it play out. That's really important, I think, to have the flexibility to respond to the work as it's evolving.
That's really valuable. And in terms of storytelling, because for a game, I think storytelling is brilliant. It's really brilliant, but really kind of like unusual in the way the structure of things and about who you're following and about set pieces. What influences did you have? Do you have? I could think what maybe filmic influences that I thought, but what was your influences maybe film wise first of all?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, for film, a lot of the stuff that we talked about, was we were thinking about camera work a lot in the films that we were looking at. So some of the films by like Andrei Tarkovsky, for example, who made the film Stalker, and some of that they have this really great camera work where it doesn't really seem to be like the camera is sort of locked on the characters. It sort of seems more like the camera fits into the environment. And the characters sort of walk through the frame, and that style was really interesting and appealing to us, and the slowness of a lot of film, especially film from the 70s had this, not all of it, but a lot of it had this really great kind of slowness and patience, and that was really appealing to us. And for storytelling in film, we all really like the films of Werner Herzog. There's one in particular called Heart of Glass that we all watched and talked about a lot. It has this kind of like slow and meandering sort of storytelling to it, and then it also has this. He does this wonderful thing in a lot of his films that are where they'll have this sort of little coda at the end that feels really unrelated, but you can kind of like piece together some kind of theme. It feels like a puzzle sometimes, he's like, why is he showing us this? And you have to really think about it, reflect on it. So that's something that we talked about and thought about a lot. And then, also we were looking at some film adaptations of stage plays because we were thinking a lot about like 20th century, mostly American tragic theater, stuff like Death of a Salesman, and the way that they build sets is kind of stage theater sets. Like if you think about a theater set is really designed for actors to move around through and do what they need to do, so they're very visual, but they're also very functional. And there seems to be a connection there with level design in video games, that are also designed for people to move through and do things. So yeah, we were one film that we looked at was the film adaptation of Death of a Salesman from the 1980s. It has Dustin Hoffman in it, and it's just a really beautiful. Keeps the stage set feel alive, like the characters kind of walk through walls and things like that. That things that they do normally on a stage that's kind of less common in a film.
Also, the big. It's such a game full of surprises. It's with form, with the characters, themes, and maybe about what actually playing a video game is. Did you have a sort of a mission about how you wanted to make a person or an audience how they think about how they play video games, or change that relationship?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's just like as a general artistic strategy, it's just like we always want people to. We always kind of want to do what I would call deconstruction of the the form. So like asking what are the assumptions that a player has or or a viewer has when they encounter this form, and how can we kind of like make it kind of complicate some of those assumptions. So like for example, when you're making dialogue choices in this game, and there's a lot of games, particularly like point and click adventure games, that have these kind of like dialogue puzzles in it where you have to choose what the character says, right? And that's there's a lot of that in Kentucky Route Zero, and usually in a game you're usually trying to achieve some kind of specific goal, and you're being strategic about what dialogue choices you make in order to cause some effect, and maybe you're using a clue that you gained that makes you think, okay, now I know what is the right choice in this conversation. And in Kentucky Route Zero, though, there's really no wrong choices in any of the conversations, and some of the things that appear to be puzzles are not puzzles. They're like, for example, there's a moment where you're asked to figure out the password to the computer, and you can kind of make these weird guesses, and they're all correct. There's no. It's not that you have to solve the puzzle of what the password is. It's just a little space for the player to compose a little small poem. So, and yeah, that's again, it kind of it's this idea of the familiar but strange that I mentioned earlier. That's like we wanted the game to, feel inviting, like you're using the same kind of interface that you're used to. But then what it should give back to you should be surprising, as you said, and kind of like, make you reflect a little bit about what you're doing, and hopefully that bleeds into next time you're playing another game, you kind of might reflect differently on the dialogue choices you're making and what it is that you're doing there, or maybe not.
Yeah, absolutely. I could talk to you about certain bits of the game, but I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, so I'm not going to do that. Let's talk about the music. How did is it Ben Babbitt who's your other collaborator with them? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
How did that relationship come about? And music's a really important part of this, of course, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, the three of us all went to the same art school in Chicago, the Art Institute of Chicago, and that's where I met Ben. And Tomas and I had Tomas is the other guy who worked on the game. So it's me and Tomas Kamenzi and Ben Babbitt. Tomas and I had just kind of like developed the initial idea for this game, and we were thinking the music should be a mix of kind of folk and bluegrass music, which is the sort of like the music that's from here in Kentucky, and a mix of that with some kind of like synthesizers and ambient music, and we kind of wanted it, just to have those two sort of you could think of them as conflicting, but those two kind of like very different kinds of sounds in it, and I just knew, from knowing Ben from school, I knew that he made both of these kinds of music. He worked with he did some work with Will Oldham, who's a musician from Kentucky who does this kind of really interesting folk music, and he did all this. Ben had done all this experimental electronic music, so we asked Ben to put together a band and record some some of these old folk songs and hymns, and then to kind of like try to make synthesizer based like interpretations of those same themes. And he made an album worth of music for us, and we kind of took that and went and we made the first episode of the game, and it took us about 2 years to do that, and we didn't really talk to Ben very much during that process, so he thought the game had basically been canceled at that point. We came back to him later and said, no, we finished it, and then we found that he made us this, like, I don't know, 70 minutes worth of music, and we were thinking that would be enough for the whole game. And we came back to him at the end of Act 1 and said, we used all your music, we need some more. So that was so that was the beginning of that relationship. And then he started doing all the sound design for us also from then on. And so the whole game is it's the studio is just the three of us, and 1/3 of the studio is like music and sound design. So I think it's kind of a cool way to have that. I think I enjoy having that as like part of the foundation of the studio, that like music and sound are always kind of go in there really early on and going to be core parts of whatever we work on.
It's a really interesting thing because, as I said, it's such an important thing, and it's one of you have it in the Spotify soundtrack of like I've got it on the list of those tracks. But have you ever done a live event like a lot of people do with kind of games of the music? Was that ever been talked about?
No, I would love to do that though, especially with there's the character Junebug later in the game, is this like robot pop musician. She shows up halfway through the game, and Ben made a whole album of her songs that one of them appears, or I guess two of them appear in the game, but he made a full album sort of as that character. And I would love to see like a live version of that. Would be really fun.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. That'd be amazing. Can I just talk about, I won't be that long, but the interludes between the acts. So you've got the 5 acts, but you've got these interludes that happen before we go into the acts. Talk to us about that. How did that idea come from?
Yeah, so when we finished Act 1 and some players were having trouble, this was in, I think 2011 or something, I guess it was 2013, I think was when we first released Act 1. I can't remember the dates. Anyway, when we first released Act 1, we had some people were having trouble like getting the game to display correctly because their graphics card had the wrong driver or something like that. But it's so hard to troubleshoot that stuff over email because people have to like kind of describe what they're seeing to you, and you have to kind of like understand, is that correct or not? So anyway, we made this little demo that it was like a little art gallery, and the different artworks in the gallery used different features of the graphics card that were problematic. So somebody could run this demo and browse the artworks in the gallery, and if one of them wasn't displaying, they would know that they had a problem and they needed to get a new graphics card or something. So that was the first interlude, and then we just because it was the thing we were making, we sort of tied it into the story of the rest of the game and used it to introduce a character who was going to come up later in the game. And it was just a fun thing to do, and it was a nice kind of way to break the flow a little bit for us. So we just kept on doing it, and in between each episode that we would release, we would publish one of these small free games that was sort of connected to the story but had a really different form and kind of came at some of the ideas from a different angle. So, later on, one of them was it's a play, and you're sort of observing the play as an actor on stage who has no lines and is just watching the other characters deliver their lines. And another one later on is this telephone number that you can call and get a sort of like touch tone menu. And get some kind of weird tourism information about the caves of Kentucky. So they became these kind of like fun experimental sort of like side little EPs between the albums or something like that.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I really like, and also your influences from art, of course, the gallery bit and theatre as well. It's in there. It's really so,
right.
Yeah, great. I'm just going to ask two more questions. We'd like to finish off. In the new Xbox Series XS version of the game, have we got anything new? Is it upgraded? What's in that version?
Yeah, so there are a few big upgrades in this version, and one of them is this new user interface that we call Modern Mode, and it's basically like an interface that we started when we made a mobile version of the game last year. And we started redesigning the interface for mobile there. And while we were doing that, we kind of came up with this new interface language and framework that was really flexible, a lot more flexible. We could display the text at a much higher resolution and things like that, and make it like a lot more readable. So we wanted to bring that to other platforms, and that was part of this project in upgrading the game for the Series XS is having this new user interface module. And you can still access the old version of the game while you're playing. You can kind of switch back and forth. Another thing that it does is originally we designed the game for lower resolutions. That was all that was really available when we started working on the game. And we kind of, because the art was all designed for these lower resolutions, we kind of really stuck to that. And so when you would play the Xbox One version of the game, even if you had a 4K television or whatever, 2K television, it would basically just upscale, everything, not using the smoothing or anything, but just kind of like doubling all the pixels to keep it really chunky, because that's what it was designed for. So this new version kind of uncaps the resolution, and it can run at arbitrarily high resolutions. And so we had to make a lot of changes to the interface in order to support that. So it's in that way, it's kind of a different. It's a chance to kind of take another look at the game, and if you've played it already, and see it in a bit more detail. There's also like a zoom feature that's really nice now that there's like a lot more resolution in the scenes. You can hold the trigger and kind of zoom into anything on the scene and in the scene and look at it. We also added a bunch of new translations and did a bunch of QA on the existing translations and just fixed a lot of bugs and stuff like that.
Great. We're looking forward to playing it again.
Thanks.
What's next for you? Can you say anything about what you're working on next?
Yeah, we're working on a new game, and it's we're working on it with Annapurna again. It's I guess I can't get too deep into it yet because it's still so sort of it's still so kind of kind of in its early stages. But I'll say that it is whereas Kentucky Route Zero, we were approaching it as a tragedy, and this one is a comedy. That's kind of our point of departure. So
great. Jake, thank you so much. When is Kentucky? When's it out?
It's out now.
It's out now.
Yesterday.
So highly recommend. Go and grab Kentucky Route Zero. on the Series X. Thank you, Jake, and
Thank you.
have a lovely day. See you soon.
All right, you too. Thanks, Gareth.
Now, let's just, before we go, let's just talk about, Richard wanted to do this, I think it's a nice idea, is talking about what we think in 2024 from this, what Xbox first-party games we're expecting. Is that right, Richard? Have I said this right?
Yeah, so Phil Spencer yesterday said that, look, Starfield's going to be the start of it all now. They're expecting at least four first-party games a year. So it got me thinking, what are the four going to be for 2024?
Well,
I don't know if George, did you want me to start?
You start, please, Richard, please.
Okay.
Yeah, it's your stupid idea. You start.
So I was thinking Hellblade 2,
Yep.
Avowed,
Yep.
Fable towards the end of next year, and mystery title. They would be my predictions at the moment with what we know anyway.
Okay, good. What have you got, Paul?
Nothing. The only thing I can hope is that there'll be a Forza Horizon 6, I'm guessing. So, yes, that's what I would like to see.
And
I've got literally no idea what's coming out, but yeah, I want to see that.
Are Playground still doing Forza Horizon, or are they just completely on a different path now? Or is someone else doing that? Do we know?
I can't imagine the Playground would give it up. They've been on board since the first one, haven't they? I mean, I know they're doing Fable as well, but I imagine they'd have more than one team.
Yeah, but there's been no. But that was their thing, wasn't it? Playground before that was their focus.
They were the Forza guys.
Yeah. It's just
but I mean, there's new content for Forza Horizon 5 every single week. So yeah, somebody's doing it.
Someone must.
So yeah, someone loves it, and that's me.
Okay, good. So what did you say? What was your one new Forza Horizon game?
I want Forza Horizon 6,
good.
please.
Good. James, what are your four?
Oh, I think.
Unbelievable.
The preparation here.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you just suddenly pipe up and go, let's talk about this. With
I
about
get
20
fair
minutes.
warning. When did I post it?
Yeah, unbelievable.
I was in the middle of a full-blown crisis at work. I didn't have time to mess about looking at games.
Sent plenty of gifts, though, didn't you?
Well, there's always time for gifts. Motorways and memes, that's me.
Half one I sent it.
Yeah, too late.
What do you think, James? Tell us.
I think
Sorry,
Forza
James.
Horizon 6.
Yeah, it's good.
That's a good call, yeah.
What was your other one?
What about
Hellblade
Avowed?
2.
Good.
Yeah, Avowed.
Yeah, I think that one will come as well.
A flight sim game. Is there a new flight sim game coming out? Gears
What
7.
about...
Gears 7. There you go. That's a good one.
Whoa,
Thank you,
so
James.
get two in here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
we're not having Gears 6 then, no?
Yeah,
No,
good. I like
no,
it.
they're doing away with conventional systems.
There you go.
Oh,
Moving
right.
straight to 7.
So like Fallout 76.
Straight to Gears 7.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
There's about 7 main characters. And you
Good.
play each of them separately.
It sounds like you've got inside knowledge here. Have they been approaching you for the story?
I can't say, but one of them is called Marcus. And then there's Cole. I can't say any more, that's it.
Good.
I think Marcus must be 83 by the time this comes out then, is
Yeah, his story's a bit of a walking sim
Yeah.
version.
he? It's like Gareth going to work in the morning.
Very good, Richard. Thank you for that. I have cut all this, by the way, but it's not in the actual podcast. But it was very good. Just you next week, isn't it, Richard? Thank God. This is good. I've got you.
Well,
Just
you know.
Richard next week, is it?
Say it again, Paul?
It's just Richard next week, you say?
Yeah, and one other. Special.
Awesome.
We're doing a special thing next week. I don't know if I can say it yet. Can we, Richard? Are we allowed to say what we're doing next week? Can we say it? Yeah. So we're doing a Starfield special next week. Richard's had hands-on time with it, and so has someone else. I'm not saying yet. And so we'll be just talking about that next week for the Starfield special. So we'll get some thoughts and ideas, and I can ask some questions. Good.
Desperate to talk about
Oh,
it.
good. There we go. Let's see what we're looking forward to next week before we go. James, what are you looking forward to?
I was looking forward to the podcast, not anymore. And do that.
Yeah, screw you guys.
We
Well,
apologise on our podcast.
when I
Yeah.
can't have all three of us, all four of us on there going, what's going on?
The
What's this
Xbox
game about?
Unofficial podcast,
Yeah,
Xbox
yeah.
Hub Unofficial one.
Especially if you two go, I've got no further questions after 5 minutes. It's going to be a bit pointless.
It didn't sound like us.
It
It's like
doesn't
he's
sound
met
like
us
you.
before.
It doesn't sound like that. Good. You must be looking something else, James. What are you looking forward to? We're
Well,
going to.
I was supposed to go to wrestling in London that
Oh
weekend,
no!
but the trains have been cancelled, so I'm not going now. That's what
Oh.
else I'm not looking forward to.
Are they on strike
Um,
again?
Yeah. But I'm going to wrestling on Tuesday in Manchester, so that'll be good fun.
Good. And we're going to play Trine 5.
We are. I know it's going to be a bit of a challenge to get you through that.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to. You carrying me for this. This is good.
Like every other game.
Yeah, good. I like it. Paul, what are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to listening to Richard wax lyrical about Starfield.
Great.
I hope that other bloke, that old fella from London, don't turn up and start piping up. But other than that, yeah, I'm going fishing at the weekend, going to the chippy in 10 minutes when I finish talking to you guys. So, yeah, so everything is coming up gravy.
Good. And Richard, what are you looking forward to next week?
It's bank holiday and Laura's away, busy doing stuff for the most of it. So I am going to be hammering gaming.
Oh, I don't know what you were saying there, Richard. Was that a bit of a pause?
There was a bit of a pause there.
Yeah, there was. Can I mention something just before you carry on?
Yeah.
I'll get killed if I don't. It is my 20th wedding anniversary on Wednesday. So all I'll say
Congratulations
is
to your wife.
All I'll say is I'd have been out by now. So anyway, there you go.
It's good that you're not doing the podcast then, Paul, because you had it's your
Well,
wedding
absolutely.
anniversary.
I mean, yeah, I can't imagine that it would be that concerned, but yeah. So there you go.
Well,
So
hang on. Does she know that you've got Armored
does she know that it's our
6
anniversary?
and you're married to From Software now?
Well, yeah.
I'd break that to her gently.
I'll break it to her, over dinner maybe. But the boy's very excited because he loves From Software as well, so he's quite looking forward to getting stuck into it. So
brilliant.
There you go.
Thank you, Paul. If we need to find you, where do we need to find you, James?
I'm on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, and Instagram at OKGKO.
And Paul, where can we find you?
I am also on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and Thread, and Instagram as well, but there's still no pictures.
Good.
And I am at Xbox Hub Paul.
Brilliant. And Richard, where can we find you?
I'm on X, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, not on Blue Sky, not on Mastodon, not got invited to those ones yet.
Good.
My handle is at Dobbo1912.
Brilliant. And you can find me at GB Brady and all those things, I think. But for now, gentlemen, thank you very much. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the official podcast of TheXboxHub.com. You had found all the notes of this show at www.TheXboxHub.com/podcast. You can also check out our social feeds on Instagram and Twitter at The Xbox Hub and search for The Xbox Hub on Facebook.